On the west side of Lisbon lies the district of Belém, home to monuments and museums and the original Pasteis de Nata. I started the morning at the Jeronimos Monastery. I had booked a ticket online for the earliest time slot of the day, which I would recommend doing because the lines quickly got very long after that. The construction of this monastery started in 1501 and took about a century to be completed. It was built to commemorate the voyage of the explorer Vasco da Gama and then inhabited by the monks of the Order of St. Jerome. Known as an excellent example of Manueline architecture, it is really worth experiencing the monastery early in the morning without crowds of people around, as it is truly stunning. Next stop, Pasteis de Belém. This business is famous for being the home of the original Pastel de Nata, which were originally created by monks at the monastery in the 1800s. While you'll most likely find a line outside this shop, don't despair because it moves quickly. The shop is very big inside with a lot of tables. I ordered 2 pastéis, a fried shrimp turnover, and a galão. Sometimes the lactose intolerance has to make some sacrifices. The custard tarts were excellent, one of the 2 favorite ones that I had while in Lisbon. In the afternoon, I visited the National Coach Museum, a unique museum home to a large collection of carriages and other vehicles from the 17th to 19th century. I continued on after the museum with a walk along the riverfront, eventually reaching the Monument to the Discoveries. This monument commemorates Portugal's Age of Discovery. Strolling along some more, I ended up at the Cultural Center of Belém. Since I had time, I decided to visit the Berardo Collection Museum here, a museum of contemporary art. For the last stop of the day, I went to see the Belém Tower. I wanted to see it during sunset, though, so I grabbed some wine from this cute cart while I waited.
And the glass, it's a souvenir for you.
The Belém Tower was built in the 16th century and served as both a gateway to Lisbon as well as for defense. In between Belém and Lisbon's center is the district of Alcantara. Undergoing a process of development and gentrification, it's now home to the trendy Alex factory, an old textiles factory complex converted into a space filled with independent studios, restaurants, bars, and shops. I visited on a weekday, but it was still bustling. One of the highlights was finding this man doing the Brazilian Teatro Lambe Lambe in a very cool bookshop. Basically, it's a little puppet show taking place inside a box, and for a small donation, you could watch a little show inside this Lisbon tram. I gave it a go, and it was extremely cute and charming. After watching this beautiful sunrise, it was only 8 a.m. That's still very early by Portuguese standards, so nothing was open yet and the streets were still quiet. In 1755, the Great Lisbon earthquake and the ensuing tsunami destroyed almost all of Lisbon and surrounding areas. Alfama, however, managed to escape largely unscathed, hence why it is now the oldest neighborhood here, and its age reveals itself in the streets, narrow and winding with a character influenced by its historical Moorish occupants. It's a perfect place to wander around and get lost in. At the very top of the hill that Alfama is on is St. George's Castle, and while I opted not to go inside, I was entertained to see the peacocks of the castle roaming around. In Alfama, you'll also find the Fado Museum. Fado is a type of Portuguese music that is said to have originated in Alfama in the early 19th century and is often characterized by melancholy and mournfulness. The Portuguese concept of saudade is often expressed, a term that roughly translates to a sad yearning for something that is absent, though it has no exact equivalent in English. While I didn't manage to catch Fado in Alfama, I did go to a Fado house later in Bairro Alto. For lunch, I went to Taberna Grosso, serving up classic dishes with modern spin. They're petiscos, meant to be shared, but it was just me, so I ate a lot. Highly recommended, and you should make a reservation, especially if you are not alone. In the afternoon, I headed to the National Tile Museum, which showcases the history of Portuguese tiles, or azulejos. I found it really interesting to see all the various influences from different cultures on the design and production of the tiles over time. Don't miss the impressive panoramic piece from 1738 upstairs, depicting Lisbon before the Great Earthquake. Last but not least, we come back to Fado. Tasca do Chico is one of the Fado houses in Bairro Alto that features amateur performers, which means that it can be hit or miss, but it is also more affordable. I didn't make a reservation, so I just lined up early and was able to get in pretty quickly. If you don't have a reservation, they'll put you at the bar, which was fine by me. Over the course of the night, as people at the tables leave, they will move you from the bar to the table. When the Fado begins, they close the door and dim the lights. Stay tuned for the last part in my Lisbon series where I head out on a day trip to the magical town of Sintra.